Alright, today we're going to be making another dish from Stanley Tucci's Taste. This time it's going to be Pino Posteraro's Fettuccine with Bolognese, a dish in which Tucci describes as one of his favorites. So with that being said, let's hop into it. To start, take 2 ounces of dried porcini mushrooms, and we need to rehydrate these. So place them in a bowl and then cover with about 2 cups of water, and you're going to let these sit for about 30 minutes. Now the recipe calls for 1 tablespoon each of chopped carrots, celery, and then finally white onion. I'm measuring out, and then we're going to put this in a small bowl and set aside for later when we saute. Then we're going to need 1 ounce of fresh mixed herbs, so taking some rosemary leaves, a little bit of thyme, and then a couple sage leaves. And we're going to give this a fine chop until everything is about equal size. If you don't have any fresh herbs, you can use the dried version. Just take about a teaspoon of each and then set that aside for later. Now we're going to need an ingredient that I haven't seen in a pasta sauce before, and that's going to be fresh orange juice. So the recipe calls for 3.5 tablespoons, which is the juice of 1 large orange. We're going to squeeze that and then strain it into a separate glass. Now for the protein, you're going to take a ½ pound of ground veal, which I'm using here, or ground beef, and we're going to add a little bit of kosher salt and ground pepper, and then give that a good mix before we add it to the sauce later. This whole recipe is going to be completed in 1 pan, so make sure you have a large saucepan. Add a little bit of olive oil, our vegetables from earlier, chopped herbs, and then the strained porcini mushrooms, and we're going to saute for a few minutes. Afterwards, we're going to add some kosher salt to the pan, making sure everything is well seasoned. Give it a stir, and then we're going to add in our ground veal directly into the pan, chop into some pieces, and we're looking to brown the meat, as the meat's going to have plenty of time to cook while the sauce is simmering. Once browned, add in 3.5 tablespoons of a dry white wine, along with the orange juice from earlier, and then we're going to add in 1 ounce of tomato paste. Stir until well combined, and then we're going to simmer this until most of the excess liquid has evaporated and the sauce becomes nice and thick. Then you're going to add in 1 tablespoon of kosher salt, along with some fresh black pepper, before we add in 1.25 pints of either chicken stock or Parmesan stock and 1 pint of beef stock. Turn the heat to high and bring it to a light boil, and then we're going to turn it to low. Let it simmer for 1.5 hours to 2 hours uncovered until the sauce is nice and thick. In terms of pasta, you can really use whatever you want, but I'm using fettuccine as that's what the recipe calls for, adding some salt to a pot of water and then adding a few nests, and these take about 5 minutes to cook. Once your sauce is finished, you're going to add in 1 ounce of unsalted butter. We're going to give that a stir until it's fully melted, and then we're going to add in just a touch of heavy cream, about 1 to 2 ounces. Give that a stir, and then your sauce is ready. Now add your pasta from earlier, and then we're going to mix until well combined, and then make sure to save some of that salty pasta water just to help even out your sauce if it becomes too thick. You can taste for final seasonings here, and if your pasta is a little too salty, just add a touch of orange juice. That acidity will really help even out the dish. Tucci then calls for a final touch of 1.25 ounces of grana padano, in which we're going to grate over top. For plating, just twirling a little bit of pasta in a soup ladle, adding it to a bowl. Make sure some of those mushrooms are on top, and then we're going to grate a little bit more of grana padano cheese, and finally top off with a little piece of sage. And there you have it, Fettuccine Bolognese from Stanley Tucci. If you guys liked the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.